Hey everyone! Today we are diving deep into something a lot of us feel, but rarely talk about. We're going to unpack the hidden psychology behind why it can be so tough, so incredibly hard to make friends.
Seriously, have you ever felt like everyone else got a copy of the social rulebook and yours just got lost in the mail? You're kind of standing on the sidelines watching everyone else navigate things so easily and you're not even sure how to start. It's a really lonely feeling.
But here's the thing. What if it's not about you doing it wrong? What if the real reason is hidden in the invisible wiring of your own mind? Well, that's exactly what we're going to get into today.
Okay, so first things first. This goes way, way beyond just being shy. I mean, that can be part of it, for sure. But we're talking about a struggle that feels so deeply personal, it can feel like it's a part of who you are. And this is absolutely crucial to get from the start. If you find it hard to make friends, it is not a character flaw. It doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It just means there's a really complex puzzle to figure out. A puzzle made of your thoughts, your history, and the unique way you're wired.
So let's start with the architect of our social reality, the one that's working 24/7. And that's our own mind. Because so often, the walls that keep people out, well, they're actually built from the inside, brick by anxious brick. Psychologists have a name for these anxious bricks: cognitive distortions. The best way to think of them is like a funhouse mirror for your thoughts. They take a perfectly normal social situation and warp it into something scary, convincing you that your biggest fears are 100% true.
I mean, sound familiar? If I say the wrong thing, everyone's going to think I'm an idiot. This is a classic example of what's called catastrophizing. Your brain just completely skips over all the realistic possibilities and jumps straight to the absolute worst-case scenario. It's a really powerful mental habit, and it can stop you dead in your tracks.
And then on top of that, you've got something called rejection sensitivity. This just means that for some of us, the sting of feeling rejected, even something tiny like a text that doesn't get a reply right away, it doesn't feel like a little paper cut. No, it feels like a really deep wound.
So you can see what happens, right? When the potential pain feels that intense, your brain's self-defense system just goes into overdrive. All of a sudden, something simple like saying hi to someone new doesn't feel like a small risk. It feels like this massive, terrifying threat. And so you just avoid it altogether. But you gotta wonder, where do these patterns even come from? Well, a lot of the time, they aren't new at all. They're actually echoes, bouncing back to us from our very first relationships.
There's this idea in psychology called attachment theory. And it basically says that our first connections, with our caregivers, they create a kind of mental blueprint for how we think all relationships are supposed to work. And we carry that blueprint with us for the rest of our lives.
Now, this blueprint usually takes one of two paths. If your early relationships felt safe and reliable, you probably developed a secure attachment style. You see connection as a good, safe thing. But if those first bonds were unpredictable, maybe even scary, you might have developed an insecure attachment style, where you see connection as something that's just, unreliable or even dangerous.
And it's not just about our earliest caregivers. Things like bullying or a tough betrayal from a friend, those experiences can literally rewire our brain's threat detector. It's like the social danger alarm gets stuck on the highest setting, and it makes it almost impossible to just relax and trust people.
Okay, so we've talked about what we've learned through our experiences, but what about what we're just born with? Because our social lives are also shaped by our brain's own unique blueprint, our personality, and something called our neurotype.
So many of us get introversion wrong. It isn't about being shy. It's all about energy. Think of your social energy like a phone battery. For extroverts, being around people actually charges their battery. But for introverts, it drains that same battery, and they need to be alone to plug back in and recharge. One isn't better than the other, they're just different operating systems. And then there's this really important idea of neurodiversity. It's the understanding that things like autism or ADHD aren't defects, they're just natural variations in how human brains are wired. And that different wiring, well, it can lead to a very different social experience.
So what does that actually look like? Well, it might mean that all the unwritten rules of small talk just feel confusing, or that a loud party is just a total sensory overload. A lot of neurodivergent people absolutely thrive in deep one-on-one conversations, but can really struggle in a world that often values shallow social chit-chat.
All right, finally, we have to look outside of ourselves. Because honestly, even if you had the most secure, extroverted, and neurotypical brain on the planet, making friends today is it's harder. We are all trying to connect in a world that feels more and more disconnected.
I mean, think about it. Social media shows us everyone's perfect highlight reel,
which makes our own messy, real lives feel like they're not enough. Those third places, community centers, cafes, places where people used to just hang out and meet, so many of them are gone. We spend way more time looking at screens, so we get less practice with actual face-to-face stuff, and let's be real, everyone is just so busy.
And the result of all this? It's a pretty startling statistic. Some studies show that as many as 1 in 4 adults feel chronically lonely. So if that's you, if you feel that way, please know you are so far from being alone in that feeling. It's a massive collective experience.
So, after all of that, where does this leave us? Well, hopefully it leaves us at a really important turning point. It's about a shift in how we see this, moving away from blaming ourselves and moving toward understanding ourselves.
All of it, the anxious thoughts, the echoes from your past, the unique way your brain is built, none of it is your fault. These things are not your flaws. They are simply the chapters of your story. They explain how you got to right here, right now.
And that means that making progress isn't about trying to force yourself to be some other person. It's about becoming an expert on you. Real change starts when you can look with kindness and curiosity at the hidden architecture that's been shaping your social world all along.
Which brings us to one last, really powerful question to leave you with. Before we look everywhere outside of ourselves for connection, what if the very first, the most important friendship we need to build, is the one with the only person who knows our story inside and out, ourselves?
Thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, subscribe for more educational psychology videos from Psychology of Everyday People.